know, okay, here goes garam masala, here goes haldi, here goes mirch, here goes special vegetables, here goes flour, maida, atta, you know. But you added all those things. For example, if you want to make a halwa, you add, you know how, okay, when should I pour suji, when should I pour ghee, when should I, roast it, then I have to pour, then I have to put water, then ground nuts, maybe kaju, cashew nuts. So you know this knowledge, that's very good. But if you are not able to do this, actually apply this, then can you know the taste of halwa? Can you know how it feels? No, hai na? Unless and until someone in your homes cooks it for you. That's another thing. But if you want to know the taste, then you have to try it. So read nectar of instruction also after we are not in the meet. Read on your own basis also and try to apply something we are discussing, but try to apply. It doesn't matter how much time it takes for us to go through the verses. Doesn't matter. The thing is, you should be learning and applying. Because if you are learning and applying, then you will be getting the taste and you will say, oh, Prabhuji, that worked actually. Yeah, actually, I found that statement in the verse. I tried it and it worked and it's so blissful. Yeah, it is happening. Yes. So try it, try those recipes, try to know the taste, because unless and until you don't do it, then you won't be able to get the taste. So these points I wanted to make before starting the reading, that it's good we are getting the opportunity to read in association, but we should also try to, first of all, we take blessings, and the next is that we try to apply it also. Then we will get the taste. Oh, yes, it's nice. Okay. So let's continue. Okay, this we did. Yes. Here, from here, we can start reading. Yes. Anyone would like to start? Yes, Rajat Prabhu, can you read? Hare Krishna. Rajat Prabhu?
जी प्रभु जी जी जी
Yes. Yes, Prabhu.
There are 6 kinds of rasas, and if one is agitated by any one of them, he becomes controlled by the urges of the tongue. Some persons are attracted to the eating of meat, fish, crabs, eggs, and other things produced by semen and blood and eaten in the form of dead bodies. Others are attracted by eating vegetables, creepers, spinach, or milk products. But for the satisfaction of a tongue's demands, such eating for sense gratification, including the use of extra quantities of spices like chili and turmeric, is to be given up by Krishna conscious person. The use of pan, haritak, betel nuts, various spices used in pan making,
Pan.
tobacco,
It's
LSD,
actually
marijuana,
pan.
pan. Okay, pan making, tobacco, tobacco, LSD, marijuana, opium, liquor, coffee, and tea is indulged in to fulfill illicit demands.
Yeah,
If we can
actually,
practice
we
everything
know
only,
this, that there is intoxication when we even drink tea and coffee. And someone may say, but it's not too much intoxication. It's not too much intoxication like, alcohol or drugs. So why to avoid tea and coffee? Maybe little tea and coffee may be fine, but why? The thing is, the Shastras are very clear. And the Shastras say that if there is intoxication, then Which principle of dharma is broken? Does anyone
No
know?
intoxication.
Yeah, no intoxication, but it breaks which principle of dharma? There are four legs of dharma. That is austerity.
Yeah, yeah, austerity.
Those who are doing intoxication, they will never be able to do austerity in their life. And that's what we see. We say, okay, okay, then come to temple, come to learn about God, learn about spirituality, and those people's minds are not likely to be associated in spirituality because they are losing the principle of austerity in their life by taking intoxication. Austerity means, in general sense, means tapasya, and proper defined austerity means accepting inconvenience voluntarily, which leads to good benefits. So that is austerity. So voluntarily accepting some inconveniences. That is austerity. And those who are drinking, those who are taking intoxication, even tea, they are not able to give up tea for one day. If you replace the tea with milk, they'll say, what is this? We can't drink, give us tea or coffee. Like many engineers, software engineers are fond of coffee and smoking cigarettes. So they think that by drinking coffee their power is increasing to do coding, but that's the opposite case actually.
Mhm.
Their mind is actually, their nerve cells are actually being destroyed more and more, and they are feeling some bliss in that. So that's the case with intoxication. That's why shastras are very much logical. They say that you lose qualities if you take intoxication. Yes, Prabhu, go read next. Yeah, like in my school days we had a teacher. I don't know where she. So we had a canteen in school, and she, at least she was drinking 6 cups of tea a day, and
Oh,
everyone in our class knew कि मैम है ये चाय पीती हैं चाय से बहुत ज्यादा attached है मैम, तो पता था हमें. So it happens, they can't give up tea because they can't take up austerity because they are losing this quality. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Sujat,
if,
you can read.
if we can practice accepting only remnants of food offered to Krishna, it is possible to get free from Maya's victimization.
Yes, that is very
Vegetables
important
like
line. This is very important line. If we can practice accepting only remnants of food offered to Krishna, it is possible to get free from Maya's victimization. Last time also we were reading this word, Maya's victimization. Does anyone remember to what context it was related? Anyone remembers? Okay, I think you need to revise devotees. Earlier, it was mentioned that to avoid being a victim of Maya victimization, he should control his senses. Now, particularly here, it is mentioned that if you want to particularly control the sense, that the most important sense is taking Krishna Prasad. If one accepts Prasad, that is controlling tongue. So it's very much practical that if you take prasad offered to Krishna, then definitely you will easily overcome Maya's victimization. The hippies were transformed, not my philosophy, my dear devotees. When Prabhupada came in Bowery Street, they were transformed by the delicious prasadam. Their hearts were, pierced by the bullets, ISKCON bullets that Prabhupada made in the jar, the gulab jamuns, and he put it there. So they came for gulab jamun actually. They came for love feast, and Prabhupada was cooking for them. It's practical actually. You take prasad, it will have a deep impact in your consciousness. I think Amandeep Pro is not here today, but he was there telling me that he was in association and he was and all of you must have experience also in camps also. You take prasad 3 times and it is just revolutionizing. You don't know how your consciousness has changed, but the prasad is acting actually behind that change in consciousness. And you feel, I feel Krishna conscious, I feel to chant more. I am encouraged to do more devotional service, to do more and more. It's because this is the most effect is coming from you are taking prasad. And obviously there are devotees around you, that's there, but prasad is a very much important thing in Krishna consciousness. Taking prasad, offer it to Krishna somehow or other. You can offer to Krishna, you can put tulsi leaf. If you say okay, the food was cooked, for some urgent circumstances you can do something also, some practical things, that okay, if you are outside, take juice, at least you can pray, you can chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. और लाइक घर पे अगर मम्मी ने खाना बना दिया और सबने खाना शुरू कर लिया, आपने नहीं खाया ना, यू ऑफर योर पोर्शन टू कृष्णा एटलीस्ट. बट ट्राई टू कल्टिवेट दिस हैबिट ऑफ ऑफरिंग भोगा एंड टेकिंग प्रसाद. वॉट एवर यू ईट इट शुड बी प्रसाद. Otherwise, Bhagavad Gita says it is sin. Actually, whatever we eat, every grain, हर दाना जो चावल का होता है या गेहूं का होता है, वो पाप होता है actually. So
Prabhuji, last Sunday I got injured by corn bullets.
yeah, everyone gets injured, and I am happy. We are all happy to get injured. Great. So it's important, devotees, to take prasad before eating. Chant Mahamantra. Offer. Try to offer as much as possible. Okay, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Read next.
Vegetables, grains, fruits, milk products, and water are proper foods to offer to the Lord, and as Lord Krishna himself prescribes. However, if one accepts prasad only because of its palatable taste and thus eats too much, he also falls prey to
खाते हैं ज़्यादा खाते हैं, then you pay. Yes, Prabhu.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us to avoid very palatable dishes, even while eat, even while with the intention of eating some nice food.
Yes.
We are involved in trying to satisfy the demands of the tongue. If we accept the invitation of a rich man with the idea of receiving palatable food, we are also trying to satisfy the demands of the tongue. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said that person
What is the loss if they someone say okay, क्या नुकसान क्या है अगर भगवान की प्राप्ति नहीं हुई, कृष्ण की प्राप्ति नहीं हुई? What is the loss? They again come back to the repeated birth and death cycle. Again you have to take birth, and which planet, which you get, you don't know. Maybe you are going to lower planetary systems in the Narkloka, and maybe you are going to, obviously most of the Kalyug people are going to Narkloka. Hardly those who are actually those who are devotees, Vaishnavas, those who have not perfected, they might go to Swargloka. But don't expect okay, someone who is a nice person, they are going to Swargloka. No. They are going to Narkloka perfectly, 100%. Prabhupada says that there might be a traffic jam on the way to hell because it is so busy. So many souls are being taken to the hellish planets because they are not at all convinced about serving God. Because in heavenly planets, Everyone knows Vishnu or Krishna is God. Everyone knows that we have to somehow or other please him. And in the heavenly planets, they are at least not at all concentrated on pure devotional service. That is the only loss in heavenly planets, that they are not trying for pure devotional service. And that is the benefit of this human form of life, that we can practice pure devotional service. Genuine devotional service can be practiced on only on earth planet. So this is a very nice opportunity for us. Take prasad, so simple process, and so relishable also. Chanting might not be relishable, but taking prasad is relishable. Eat. Prabhupada says in one quote, eat, 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 and one day you will become diseased with Krishna consciousness. So if you simply eat, 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 then one day you will become diseased with Krishna consciousness. बीमार हो जाओगे, जैसे बीमार पड़ जाते हैं ज्यादा खा के, पेट खराब हो जाता है. So प्रभुपाद से उसी तरह कृष्ण भावना की बीमारी भी लग जाएगी. Okay, Rahul Prabhu, can you read?
As stated before, the tongue, those who suffer, यहाँ से शुरू करना है ना? Those who suffer from disease.
No, यहीं से करना है.
As stated
As
before.
stated. Yes, bro.
Okay. As stated before, the tongue, belly, and genitals are all situated in a straight line, and they fall in the same category. Lord Chaitanya has said, "Bhala na karibe, aad bhala na paribe." Do not, uh, do not dress luxurious and do not eat delicious foodstuffs. Those who suffer from the disease of the stomach must be unable to control the urges of the belly. At least according to his analysis, when we desire to eat more than necessary, we automatically create many inconveniences in life. However, if we observe fasting days like Ekadashi and Janmashtami, we can restrain the demands of belly.
Yes, this is another benefit of fasting, that we are able to control the demands of the body. And Prabhupada says another benefit, that any disease if you get and if you fast, then there are many chances that you will become healthy after fasting. So those who are doing Ekadashi Fasana, they are very likely to get prone to any disease, especially common disease like fever or cold. They don't get. And it's my personal experience when I was in college days till my second year. Mostly I was very much having especially cold and fever. Usually in hostel I was getting these diseases. But after shifting to base and following these principles, hardly I think I got fever. Hardly in a year. Maybe one time or two time in a year. If you take bath in the morning, you chant, you fast on Ekadashi, you're taking prasad. Actually, Ayurveda mentions that this is the best way to keep your body healthy. So it's very scientific also. Yes, Prabhu, read.
As far as urges of the genitals are concerned, there are two: proper and improper, or legal or illicit sex. When a man is properly mature, he can marry according to the rules and the regulations of the Shastras and use his genitals for begetting nice children. That is legal and religious. Otherwise, he may adopt many artificial means to satisfy the demands of genitals, and he may not use any restraints.
Yeah,
When
so
one
according to
indulges,
Shastras, one should not use any contraceptives or any other thing for satisfying the demands of the genitals. So what are the rules and regulations of the Shastras to use the genitals is that even before the night for begetting a child, one has to chant the names of the Lord, and one has to follow principles, follow the process of Garbhodhan Sanskar, take advice from the Vaishnavas, and and after that, actually, if he is allowed, then he can be allowed to beget a child. But in the according to scriptures, no one should be allowed to satisfy the demands of janitors. That is the improper way of utilizing them. Yes, Prabhu, read.
When one indulges in illicit sex life, as defined by the Shastras, either by thinking, planning, talking about, or actually having sexual intercourse, or by satisfying the genitals by artificial means, he is caught in the clutches of Maya. These instructions apply not only to householders but also to Tyagis, or those who are in the renounced order of life. In this book, Prema Virta 7th chapter, Sri Jagannath Pandit says,
Yes, ये वाला भी पढ़ दीजिए. Okay.
My dear brother, you are in the renounced order of life and should not listen to talk about ordinary worldly things, nor should you talk about worldly things when you meet with others. Do not think of women even in
I
dreams.
hope devotees
You
you take notes also when we are reading. No? Try to take notes also. Some important points comes. I'm just reminding for this. Yes, Prabhu, go on, read.
You have accepted the renounced order of life with the vow that forbids you to associate with women. If you wish to associate with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you must always remember the incident of Chota Haridas and how he was rejected by the Lord. Do not eat luxurious dishes or dress in a fine garments, but always remain humble and serve their lordship, Sri Sri Radha Krishna, in your heart of hearts.
Yes. Hridaye Radha Krishna Sarvada Sevide. Actually. So, yes. So, there is a pastime where associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chota Haridas, he was rejected by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Mahaprabhu never forgave him in this lifetime, and ultimately he gave up his life in the mood of repentance. So this pastime was to teach that if someone is trying to somehow, if someone is internally, he is trying to enjoy or he's trying to think about this desires, lusty desires, and he's trying to act, he's finding some opportunity to act, then Mahaprabhu rejects him actually. And it's a really depressing statement, because then you say, okay, but we have also lust, we are not free from it, then what would happen to us? So there is an explanation also here. See, lust is not in our control. There we have material body, you see someone, then lust may come, lust will come definitely. But one thing you have got control, that is to act on lust, to act on those desires. Desires for sense gratification may come, but the desire to fulfill those desires are in your control. That's why Bhagavad Gita 2.70 says, Na kam kami. Arjun, the transcendentalist, don't desire to fulfill those desires. That is in our control. The desire came, just ignore it. And that's what advice is given by Jagdanand Pandit, who is a very close associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he says that just remember the pastime of Chota Haridas, who was rejected by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So just tell your mind, this is not good. Just ignore that desire. Don't try to act on that desire. Don't try to fulfill those desires. Desires come, ignore. Like Sri Yamunacharya, who is the spiritual master of Srila Ramanujacharya of Sri Sampradaya. He says in one of the purports, Prabhupada also mentions in Bhagavad Gita 2nd chapter, that he says that Whenever there is a desire for sex life coming in my mind, I simply spit at those thoughts. So the question is, if you are a pure devotee, how those thoughts came? Actually, out of humility, he's saying, but he is conveying a message that thoughts may come, thoughts of having desire to enjoy may come, but the action that he takes is he spit at those thoughts. So that's what we learn from scriptures, making character. That is to neglect those situations to fulfill those desires. We don't like to fulfill those desires. That is in our control. And Krishna sees this. That's why we can remind the mind of this pastime Chota Haridas.
Sorry, what Chota Das did?
It's a long pastime, but briefly I will tell you that Chota Haridas, yeah, he was a sannyasi, and he jokingly had a conversation with an old woman. Jokingly, he had a conversation with old woman and some desire for her. Not very much old, but a little old. So Mahaprabhu rejected him. Mahaprabhu told him, don't come to our association. And he repented and repented. He pleaded to Mahaprabhu and associates of Mahaprabhu. The associates of Mahaprabhu also told him, Mahaprabhu, that Mahaprabhu, he's really feeling guilty. Mahaprabhu said, no, he will not be forgiven. And he committed suicide actually. So as they say, oh, a Vaishnava can commit suicide also. But that suicide was not out of, frustration from life. It was out of guilt that he disobeyed Mahaprabhu. So, so Mahaprabhu didn't reject him. So, what his game is over? No, actually, Prabhupada explained then further that actually he went back to Godhead. Mahaprabhu, in his next life, Mahaprabhu gave him darshan and accepted him. But through this pastime, Mahaprabhu taught a very important lesson that actually one should not try to act on those desires. Desires come, okay. Acting on those desires, not okay. That's why there is a very beautiful statement by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and I like it very much. I will try to repeat it to you. You can even note it. Weakness is acceptable. Weakness is acceptable, but cheating is outlawed. OUTLAWED, outlawed or not allowed, like this. Weakness is acceptable, but cheating is outlawed. So don't try to act on those, or at least be honest. That's what is the goal. So that's why generally, so that's why I had a conversation with all of you, on that day, that be genuine, genuinely practice Krishna consciousness. If you have weakness, that is acceptable, but covering up those weaknesses and covering up those weaknesses in a cheating mood is not acceptable by Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is so merciful. For Mahaprabhu, it is said that Kathanchana smrite yasmin dushkaram sukaram bhavet. That which is very difficult to do becomes very easy if one somehow or other remembers Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In spiritual life, something, if it is very difficult, it becomes easy if someone remembers Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So one should always try to see that I don't want to lose this opportunity to displease Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Let me be genuine. I may be weak, but I will be honest. We will discuss this in detail some other time also. Maybe our informal meetings, like in question answers we have, maybe I will discuss it with all of you. But yes. Okay. So, yes, Abhinav Prabhu, can you read the next paragraph?
The conclusion is that one who can control these 6 items Speech, mind, anger, tongue, belly, and genitals is to be called Swami or Goswami. Swami means master, and Goswami means master
Is
of
it being
the flow.
recorded, Abhinav Prabhu?
Yeah.
Okay, because I think Rahul Prabhu said his meat was not working. Okay, okay. Yes, Prabhu, continue.
When one accepts the renounced order of life, he automatically assumes the title of Swami. This does not mean that he is the master of family, community, or society. He must be master of his senses.
यस सो किसी के नाम के आगे स्वामी लगता है ना, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि स्वामी जी तो मतलब रियली बहुत बड़ा उपाधि है। स्वामी जी एक पोजीशन है जिसने अपनी इंद्रियों को कंट्रोल किया है, और गोस्वामी भी इसलिए कहते हैं स्वामी या गोस्वामी, जिसने अपनी इंद्रियों को कंट्रोल किया है। यस प्रभु, रीड नेक्स्ट।
Unless one is master of his senses, he should not call Goswami but Das, servant of senses.
यस
Following in the footsteps of six Goswamis of Vrindavan, all Swamis and Goswamis should fully engage in transcendental loving service of the Lord. As opposed to this, the Godas engage in the service of the senses or in the service of the material world. They have no other engagement. Prahlad Maharaj has further described the Godas as Adant Go, Adant Go, which refers to one whose senses are not controlled, and Adant Go cannot become a servant of Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.30, Prahlad Maharaj said.
So, so all of you want to become Goswami? Yes. Do you want to become Goswami?
Yes.
And why?
So we can serve better.
This is
Serve
the
Krishna
answer.
better.
This is the answer. Because if you are not a Goswami, what we will be become? Adant Go. And an Adant Go cannot become a servant of Krishna. If we are not Goswami, then what are we? Godas. If we are Godas, then we are servant of, we cannot become servant of Krishna. Goswami means who is controlling the senses to become servant of Krishna. Goswami is not for some, some title to become famous on YouTube or something like this. Goswami is for becoming a servant of Krishna. That is important thing. That is the significance of controlling the senses. So we can end, but here just few paragraphs. Okay, this is it. Just I will finish this. For those who, this is said by Prahlad Maharaj. It is a very famous verse. I can help you to even recite it. You can see the rag, how it is recited. Matirna Krishne paratah svato va mitho abhipadyet graha vratanam adant gobhir vishtam tamishram punah punascharvita charvananam. For those who have decided to continue their existence in this material world for the gratification of their senses, there is no chance of becoming Krishna conscious. Not by personal endeavor. तो अगर कोई सोचे मैं सेंसेस कंट्रोल किए बिना भी अपने खुद के प्रयास से बन जाऊंगा भक्त, नहीं. बाय इंस्ट्रक्शन फ्रॉम अदर्स, हो सकता है कोई और मेरी हेल्प कर देगा, नहीं. और बाय जॉइंट कॉन्फ्रेंसेस, और हो सकता है सेंसेस कंट्रोल नहीं करूंगा बट संघ में चला जाऊंगा, शायद बिना सेंसेस कंट्रोल के रह लूंगा, शायद हो जाए. नो, they are dragged by the unbridled senses into the darkest region of ignorance, and thus they madly engage in what is called chewing the chewed. This is a very famous line, chewing the chewed. गन्ना होता है ना, गन्ना, गन्ने का जूस निकलते देखा आप सबने? देखा है, पिया है? तो गन्ने का जो जूस निकलता है, तो आपने देखा होगा, उसको बार बार ले जाते हैं, बार बार ले जाते हैं, बार बार ले जाते हैं, जब तक सारा रस ना निकल जाए, और फिर वो बच जाता है जो इट इज थ्रोन. हमारी स्थिति क्या है? हम वो जो that which is left out, that we are trying to find taste in that sticks, those sugarcane sticks, which are already we have tried in previous so many lives. We have already tried to enjoy through eating, sophisticated eating, sleeping, mating, defending. We have already tried to do sense gratification throughout various species of life. Still, after getting human form of life, we are trying to chew the same process we tried in other species. So it's very sad if we don't control our senses to become servant of Krishna. But if we try to utilize the process of controlling the senses to become servant of Krishna, then we can be saved from hell actually. Because otherwise here it is mentioned that they all are dragged into darkest region of ignorance. Even on earth they will experience hell. Have you seen slum areas? Their life is like hell actually. They are so much suffering. Why? Because of these activities they did in previous lives. So hell is on this earth also. Hell is a consciousness also, because you can't experience a drop of happiness. So at least someone who wants to get out of this birth death cycle, he must control his senses. And even Mayavadi sannyasis, they also control their senses. But for a Vaishnava, it is not only to become a Goswami for, to getting out of the cycle of birth and death, ultimately to become a servant of Krishna. That is our goal, to control the senses. What's the process? Here it is elaborately described in the puppet, what we all have gone through. So we have all gone through how to control the senses, how to actually engage those senses practically. What are the benefits? What are the disadvantages? Those who don't control, what happens to them? How these senses, they force us, how they act us. These questions were answered in the puppets. So I request you, it will not be clear to you unless and until you again, after the meet, you read this puppet. And if before sleeping today, if you read this, maybe you will be better able to memorize those points, or at least it will be making a good impression in your consciousness. So read this puppet again on your own account. And it's a very important thing. See, if you want to become a servant of Krishna, the first instruction, the nectar instruction gives is control the senses. So important actually. The last instruction it gives is, it's a very high instruction. It is to become servant of Shrimati Radharani. But here, the first instruction is that if someone can't even control his senses, he will be dragged. He may try, but he will be dragged forcefully. ऐसे कहते हैं ना, बाल पकड़ के लेके जाएंगे खींच के. The senses will drag him. चलो 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 चलो, तुम्हारी इंटेलिजेंस किसी काम की नहीं है, चलो. So we must try, and we don't control like Mayavadis forcefully. We engage them in a positive way. Vacho Vegam, control the tongue, taking prasad, talking about Krishna, glorifying Krishna, chanting Krishna's name, chanting Kirtan for the Lord. वाचो वेगम, मनसा माइंड को कंट्रोल करने का भी बताया, भगवान के बारे में सोचना, थिंकिंग ऑफ कृष्णा, रीडिंग अबाउट कृष्णा, वी थिंक अबाउट कृष्णा. देन वाचो वेगम, मनसा क्रोध वेगम, हाउ टू कंट्रोल द एंगर, टू टॉलरेट, टू बिकम, हाउ टू कंट्रोल द एंगर. एनीवन रिमेंबर्स? क्विक टेस्ट. व्हाट्स द वे टू कंट्रोल द एंगर?
कि वैष्णव के निंदा करने वालों के लिए हमको एंगर शो करना है.
Yes, that is the example of Hanuman ji. But mostly you will not find the situation where you have to deal with the ninda. Mostly you will not find it. So how to?
अगर हम कृष्णा कॉन्शियस नहीं रह पा रहे हैं तो हमको खुद पे गुस्सा आना चाहिए कि हम क्यों नहीं रह पा रहे हैं, और फिर उसको, उस एंगर को यूज करके.
Okay, positive use of anger. There is a principle which I am looking for, which we discussed. That is to be practiced.
To be tolerant, like
tolerant. Yes, humility. Mahaprabhu told, practice trinadapi shunichena. That is tolerate. Be humble. Be humble more than a blade of grass. Actually, Mahaprabhu says, more than a blade of grass. Tolerate all the insults to your own self. अगर आपको पे कोई इंसल्ट हो रही है जो जहाँ पे मे बी आप टॉलरेट कर सकते हैं, then try to tolerate as much as if you can justify and then just kick back and tolerate. So tolerating one's insults to own self, yes, and definitely engaging that positive anger in service of Vaishnavas, service of God, service of protecting the dignity of Krishna and his devotees. That is definitely there. Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam jiva vegam. Okay, to control the tongue. Vacho vegam we discussed to do Krishna katha. Jiva vegam we discussed also. Jiva vegam udarupastha vegam, to control the belly and the genitals. We discussed what is the proper use of genitals and how the belly can be controlled. They are in 3 lines. Simply, if you control the tongue, automatically your belly and genitals will be controlled. Prabhupada mentioned there. Jiva vegam udarupastha vegam etan vegan yo vishahet dhira. So a sober person who controls these all for to become a servant of Krishna, then he becomes sarvam apimam prithvim sashishyat. Then he becomes qualified to make disciples all over the world. Why? Because he had attained the stage of Goswami. So he can make disciples. Okay. So it's also a qualification for a guru also, that he must control his senses, as well as for anyone who is trying to become a servant of Krishna, not guru, but anyone who is trying to become servant of Krishna.
तो ये एक क्वेश्चन था कि कई बार हमें मटीरियल लोगों का डील करना पड़ता है, तो हम कृष्ण कॉन्शियस फिलॉसफी डिस्कस कर नहीं सकते, तो मैं क्या बात करें?
Okay, that we will discuss because it needs some broad answer. You can put that on Excel sheet. Is it fine, Abhinav? Because I will explain in detail.
Okay, no problem.
Dealing with non-devotees. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, devotees, reflect on your thoughts, what you learned, read it. Okay, do fill out your thoughts in comments and your inspirations in Excel sheet. This is for your own looking. And one Ekadashi has already passed. I don't know if you have checked it out or not, but do check it out. Okay, before Ekadashi, yesterday, what were my thoughts? How my practice was going in Krishna consciousness? In meetings, what I had been learning, what I had been practicing. Oh, I learned these points. I practiced this also at my home, at my place, my workplace. Oh, my chanting was this. Okay, I learned this. So reflect on those also. Try to see through them, because I told you that Excel sheet was for your own self to reflect on it. Okay. And if you fail, if you find any obstacles or if you find any challenges, then I am there. You can talk with me. So it's like this. Thank you, devotees. We took 12 minutes extra today because we were ending this verse. Next, we will start the next verse. But it's a very important in the first verse. This is still being continued today in my life. I'm still continuing this, practicing this verse in my life, and I urge you to take this verse seriously also and practice in your own life in how you can do it. And you will definitely find that it will benefit, then it will help you to advance in Krishna consciousness. Okay, so I thank you very much also for all of you to come here, take out your time, because that is a great austerity. You are taking some inconvenience to come association. And you know what? The best book reading is the book reading that you do in association. You will find this maybe after some years, but you will find this realization. Oh, that was the best time, book reading in association. Thank you, HG Prabhu, for doing the seva today also. And thank you all of you devotees. So I pay my humble obeisances to all of you devotees. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyavcha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Srila Rupa Goswami ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Updeshamrit ki jai. Hare Krishna.